Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about my SLP, which was bridging the gap with students with disabilities. Looking at our student demographics, we have 742 students that attend our school at Spring Creek High School, with the majority of our ninth graders being 240, and then our 11th graders, which are our sophomores, are 196. Our 11th graders, which are our juniors, are 182, and then our seniors are 160 in the 12th grade. When looking at my student population, the biggest population we have here are the Hispanic, and they are 61.1%, with our white population being 22.5%, our African American population being 12.8%, and two or more races, which are 3.4%. The economic status at our school, I looked at the data, and 85.7% of my students that are considered with a disability are not proficient in their testing. So when it comes to the purpose of my SLP, I wanted to make sure that any student that was considered to have a disability, whether they were AIG, academically gifted, or if they had a 504 or an IEP, that they were receiving the services that they needed. I feel that that is very important, that any student that needs a service or needs a help in a specific content area or whatever it may be, they need to make sure that they are getting the services that they need and they are supposed to get. It is an issue that only 14% of the students with a disability are considered proficient in their test scores. That means 86% of our students are not proficient, and that is a big, big group. So looking at my SLP, I wanted to see, are these students not being proficient because they are not getting the services that they needed, or are they just not proficient because we need to change how our teaching styles to meet the needs of these students? And then the students with disabilities should be able to become proficient inside and outside of the classroom. Just because they're considered to have a disability does not mean that they cannot be successful. Being successful inside and outside of the classroom is something that I feel like we should strive to do as educators and leaders and all in the classrooms. So when I pulled the data for Spring Creek High School, again, only 14% were proficient. When I broke down the subjects and the grades, their Math 3 and their Math 1, only 20% of those students were proficient. When it came to biology, only 14 were proficient, and then 5% for English too. When I started talking to some of our teachers here, we discussed that maybe it's because we have a lot of English language learners, and so the English classes may be a little bit harder for the students to accommodate for. When I decided to sit down and do this as my SLP, I did a Google form, and in this Google form, I pulled like if the teachers were confident, and some of the teachers said that something I wanted to include in my SLP was how do they collaborate with our special education staff here at Spring Creek High School. And with that, I wanted to see how do they collaborate. And most of them just said that they only collaborate with them when reviewing their IEP goals. So I wanted to make sure that we at our school and as staff and educators and leaders were collaborating more effectively and making sure that we can meet the needs of our students. A lot of our staff felt that they had adequate support when it came to meeting the needs of students with disabilities. And then they were able to determine the different ways that they do meet the needs of with our students. So the description with my SLP is I'm bridging the gap with students with disabilities. I wanted to make sure that these students are not overlooked and that they are meeting their needs are being met inside and outside of the classroom. So when it came to looking at the stakeholder language, a lot of our staff felt that they didn't have the time to meet these needs of our students and that they could not meet the needs of their students. And they could do that with the help of admin or their EC department or whatever it may be. So the impact that my SLP has had is teachers are actually doing like they're supposed to and meeting the needs of their students, but they don't think that they are. They don't think that they're meeting the students where they are. And so getting my spreadsheet back, they are meeting the needs of these students, and they're changing the aspects of the ways that they think in their classrooms.